So I'm just going to go over the main rules of the Imperial Knights Renegade game for those who don't know. So the first big thing is the targeting. You do this by picking a location on your opponent in this targeting matrix. If it's close combat, you don't scatter, you're considered to automatically hit. But if it's anything other than that, shooting attacks, snap attacks, standard attacks or aimed attacks, you roll these two lovely Vegas Star dice right here and compare it to the two charts on these rules here. So the red one gives you your horizontal variation and the blue one gives you your vertical variation. You take the type of shooting attack you have, find out the alteration to the location you've got here, and apply it to the location that you've chosen on the matrix, giving you your final location to apply damage to. So your opponent can do something about this. They have an armor save. Every knight has a 5-up armor save, which can be negatively or positively impacted. Negatively by the AP of the weapons. These battle cannons and wraith cannons here have a -1, meaning that a knight has a native 6-up save against those. Or it can be positively affected by either a shield or by the cover mechanic. So the way we determine whether a knight is in cover or not is we take the centre of each knight there and there, you draw an imaginary line between them, and if this is intersected at any point by a piece of cover, both knights are considered to have gained the benefit of that cover. So, assuming that the save doesn't work, you have damage locations here. Now, to destroy a knight, to win the game, you have to destroy 6 locations total, which can be 2-point locations up here, they can be 3-point locations here, or big heavy 4-point locations like here, the waist, the head, etc. For each one of these that goes down, you have an effect table listed down here. This can go from anything from losing an inch of any kind of movement for each leg location damaged, and that can be up to 6. So you can have a completely stationary town knight. Well, actually it'll be dead by then because 6 locations. But then other things can happen. So you can destroy the ion shield, and then the opponent will never be able to rotate their ion shields. The real savage one, though, is the head. If this gets damaged, you can only ever spend 2 action points, which means you'll never be able to make aimed attacks after that. So that can be a real killer for somebody if you've laid down some hurt long distance at the beginning of the game. It forces you to be real stunted when you get to your close combat range. Anyway, the main game, it has 2 separate phases, the planning phase and the action phase. Now the planning phase, you're supposed to keep your decisions secret from your opponent. It actually specifically says you're supposed to write it down. But this is where you choose what actions your knight is going to be doing for that phase. Now each action has a different action points value, and you can only ever choose one action once. You can't repeatedly do the same thing, which makes sense. So when you move into the action phase, you move down this list of the actions available one by one, announcing at each action phase if you've chosen it for your knight. So I'll just go through the key points about all of these actions. So the first one would be the snap attack. That costs a single point and it scatters up to 3 locations on a 1 or a 6 when you're shooting. The second action is advance, which is a 9-inch movement for the Imperial Knight and a 12-inch movement for that Wraith Knight there, and a pitiful 6-inch movement for that tail thing when I finally get my hands on one. You can rotate your iron shields as the third action. That improves your armor save by 1, as I mentioned a little bit ago. But the jip of that one is it doesn't work in close combat. So the fourth action is a standard attack. Now this costs 2 action points. It's more likely to hit. 3s and 4s hit for this, but its maximum scatter is still 2 locations. It's not great. It's not terrible though. The fifth action is a run. This costs a single point and can allow you to run up to 2d6. So yeah, good. Yeah, we've all been there with run distances. The sixth action you can do is the aimed attack. Now this is the only attack that costs 3 action points. So if you damage your head, you can't do aimed attacks. It will only ever scatter 1 location on 1s or 6s, so it's highly accurate and it's great for putting down some hurt long range. If you can, if you get a Daka based knight, you can really sit back and take aim. So the last action that you can take is the charge. It costs 2 points. You can only do close combat strikes if you've chosen to charge. So you can get the benefit from a terrain as well. So if you have some thin things in between you and the other knight, you can still gain a +1 against that. But most of the time you're not going to be able to get your armor save from close combat attacks because of the punishing AP that they have with them. The last thing to mention about the close combat attacks in this game is that they have range. So that Reaper Chainsword has a 6-inch range, and the Thunderstrike Gauntlets that I have on my Errant have a 4-inch range. That's pretty much everything I really want to... Like, if I go further, then GW might be annoyed with me. So you can get your own copy of these rules very easily. It's like a £5 on eBay or something. They were with all of those Knights Renegade sets that everyone was buying like fury. But what I found, you can still buy this rule set from GW. And it comes with all of the extra White Dwarf material with it, and presumably in a slightly better presentation than tearing it out of the White Dwarfs that I managed to to buy. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully see you in some of the battle reports.